007.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your man, Dame D, NYDC, 2 mics up. Hey, we've moved on and we are back here now for season 5. All new episodes. And today's guest is a very special person. You've seen him appear in several different films, TV. He's had a broad history in the entertainment field. And, you know, I'm happy to have the time to sit with him. You know, he took time out of his busy schedule to rock with us today. And what I'm going to do is for you, I'm going to bring to you to the stage today, today's guest, Mr. Brett Chapin. Brett, how you doing this morning, my friend? Well, I should say, I know the time difference is morning for you as we record this, but how are you doing today? And I see we have you on mute. There we go.
You do have me on mute. How's that?
All right, much better. How you doing today, Brett?
I'm doing great. It is morning. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. So, I like to, kind of get into some background information with you. Tell us, who Brett Chapin is. I know you come from a big family, a great upbringing. So kind of give us some background about yourself, Brett.
Yeah, well, I grew up mainly in Southern California, here in and around Southern California. From high school on, it was in Laguna Beach, and became interested in acting. I got some great training down there, going through a conservatory and repertory program at the Laguna Playhouse. And moved up to LA here, early 2000s.
Wow. Well, so I have to ask, you talk about your early background, in the repertory and doing all that type of thing. So early on was stage and theater, maybe really your focus, because, how did that transition for you, to then getting to acting? Like, was that your base really? Was that what you really wanted to do, as a young child?
Yeah, I think stage was where I got my start, and it'll always probably be my first love. Just growing up, going to theater and working in theater and all that, I think really gave me a great base for working in other types of medium, film and television. I think theater is a great training ground for somebody just starting out, and it's a continual proving ground for an actor all through their career, I think.
I have to ask too, Dan, because again, someone who has no theatrical talent like myself, and really does not really understand. But I hear and I've had several guests on before and refer to like the fourth wall,
Mhm.
and really, how different is that, or is it the same when you're on stage, and you have like that live audience feel, but sometimes when you're on set, maybe working with a green screen or some type of backdrop, like. Are they the same or are they different? And is the energy or vibe for you the same or different?
There's similarities and differences. I think when you're working on stage, you get the immediate audience feedback, which is great. You can feel the energy if they are disliking you, if you're the villain, or if they're rooting for you, if you're the hero. You can really it's an energy and a give and take between an audience and a cast that's very, very interesting. So you get that immediate feedback, and it's also something that I think that show or that moment is something that lives in only the actors and the creative people's memory and the audience's memory for that moment in time. Whereas film is sort of captured in that moment in time, but you can replay it at any time. You don't specifically share in that experience of that moment. So it's a little different.
It's a little different, and I can tell. So, which one though gives you the greater sense of? I don't want to say accomplishment because both are an accomplishment, but I'm curious to know, like, which one gives you like the bigger rush? That on stage, like in the moment, hey, I got him. Like when you, like you said, the audience is applauding and cheering, or they're not to say booing or hissing because you're the villain, or is it that that moment that you can kind of always replay over and over again, from a movie or TV?
Yeah, I personally I like the fly by the seat of your pants, get it right now moment of theater. That's
Right.
really something that I've really always enjoyed. And those times when I have forgotten a line or something has gone wrong, being able to know that you can improvise in that
Mm,
moment and make it right or fix it as best you can, that's a real exciting rush. Not that I don't love film and television, I love that too, but you do get additional takes and additional chances to get it right. Whereas
true.
theater, it has to be right exactly in that moment.
I love that. I was always curious to know that. But before we
Hmm.
continue the conversation too, Brett, so you know, I'm pretty sure you try to stay. I mean, like most actors, I mean, this is your job and entertainers. Your job is to try to stay busy. Booked and busy as much as possible. But I'm
Sure.
curious to know though, for you, when you're not working on a project, right, and you're not, booked and busy, what do you like to do in your downtime? How do you spend your downtime?
My downtime has been interesting over the last year because it's been spent doing a lot of running.
Oh
I
wow,
kind of put a fitness challenge on myself this year to run 1,000 miles in 2022. And
wow,
I'm 930 miles in, so I've got a couple weeks
okay,
here left to go, but I should be able to
okay.
finish.
That's
And
what's up.
yeah, I've just been spending a lot of time with just self-improvement and trying to get myself right physically because I know that that always leads into other aspects of your life, the emotional, the mental.
Mm.
But it's for me this year, it started with the physical. So I've been spending a lot of time running.
That's interesting, and I mean, it just makes me wonder too. Like, so many of us are really still kind of coming out of the pandemic. We're still transitioning, I guess, into the new normal. And
Hmm.
was that one of the things for you that by adding that part of the fitness, was that something that you wanted to add it on, kind of for you to kind of come into your new normal and transition, and kind of deal with some of the everyday stresses and things of life that so many of us being cooped up in the house or with our loved ones. Sometimes you need that escape. And was that part of that? Was that part of your mental reset to add that as well?
Yeah, I was running a little bit, but I think I really started running heavily around July of 2020, right in the midst of the
Okay.
pandemic, because I was
Wow.
just, I found myself sitting on the couch and eating a lot of chips and not, like we all were. And
Yeah.
I had to do something to get out of the house. So uh, the gym right near my house was opened up outside. It had an outside area where
Okay.
they were having the treadmills and everything. And so I signed up there. I started doing that, and then this year started in with the 1,000 mile journey. And it's
Wow.
just been, yeah, it was a real stress reliever during the pandemic. It really
I can imagine.
helped me out getting focused and just the process of just having a routine every morning and
Yeah.
having giving myself a place to go, even though I couldn't go to work, I couldn't go, we couldn't really go outside at all.
Right.
Having that routine, I think, was really beneficial for me.
I love that. And I hope, the reason why I ask is, I mean, some of us still are, even myself, I still find myself, going back to work, I still, certain places, most times I'm still putting the mask on just because, um, and again, this is just me personal preference, people. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just talking personal preference. We're here in the DMV area, we still have high spikes and high levels. Thank goodness people are not dying at the rate that they are, but I just think out of precaution. But again, you're trying to find that new normal, and I'm trying to do the same thing. And I want people to really hear, routine and create a habit that really helps get you up and get you moving in a way that it becomes a stress relief. Like you said, you're not stuck in the house anymore. You're not eating chips all day. And I just think it's important that we all add that in as we move forward into this new normal. So little PSA, and I'm gonna get off that sidetrack, and we're gonna go ahead and continue the conversation because you know as an actor and a talented actor at that, I'm curious to know for you, Brett, like what was that aha moment that once you felt that that rush, I guess, if you will, from being on stage that really wanted to propel you to continue on and make this like a permanent part of your journey, to be an actor and continue on? What was that? When did the light go off for you?
I'm going to answer that, but on the PSA thing, real quick, I just want to say I think you're doing a great thing. I think you're doing the right thing and the responsible thing.
Mm,
Just keeping masked and keeping safe, even if it's too cautious. It's better to be too cautious than not cautious enough. So,
yes, sir. Thank you.
real quick, just to let you know, I think you're doing a great thing there.
Thank you.
But on the career journey, for me, it was I saw the film version of West Side Story,
Wow.
and that I think I must have been 8 or 9, and that just
Wow.
cemented it for me. I seeing Tony up there doing his thing, and seeing a medium. I think that was the first musical I saw. So seeing a medium for the first time that combined singing, which is something that I loved, and acting, which is something that I loved, and seeing that the two could be combined in such a creative way was a real eye opener for me.
Wow.
Um, there was also a real specific moment, and I don't know if every actor has this moment, but when I was 20, I was doing a show called Into the Woods as a
Hmm.
musical, and I was on stage and I was looking at the lady that was playing my mother, and I don't know if I just got lost in the lights or the moment or whatever, but it was just I was looking at her and I was saying to myself, wow, this is really happening
Wow.
right now.
Yeah.
I am Jack and I am in this moment and I am this character and I'm not Brett for this moment and this feels wonderful. I really like
Wow.
this. I want to keep doing this.
Wow.
So I remember that specific moment. I remember the West Side Story thing, and then just being inundated with musicals and films growing up really helped solidify it for me as well.
Man, that's awesome, man. You took me back to my childhood, West Side Story, and being able to see, the film and had the opportunity to go see it on Broadway. So yeah, I can relate
Oh,
because that was really my first introduction, um, to theater and stage on that level. So
hmm
it was magical. The pageantry and the music and everything else going on was amazing. So I agree with you totally in that. And then you know, I, a lot of us have inspirations, in our careers or things that we do. And I heard you mentioned you talk about Tony and seeing the show. Was there or has there been or is there a career inspiration? Was it someone or something that's been the biggest career inspiration or to inspire you in your career?
I can name a few. I mean, Al Pacino is has been my favorite actor for quite a long
Yes.
time. I love Paul Newman. I think he's great. Um, when I was 10 years old, I wrote a fan letter to kind of an unknown actor who I really admired that was on a soap opera at the time named Stephen Gregory. And he wrote me back. And I
Wow.
remember being so inspired by the fact that this actor that I thought was a huge star, and looking back, he wasn't a
Right.
huge star, but in my mind, at 10 years old, he was. And the fact that he had taken the time to write back to me and encourage me, it just that was a real inspirational moment as well.
Man, I love that. That's big, and I think even doing this and having this platform, um, for me as a fan, period. Um, no one is too big or too small in my eyes, but I think it's the privilege of having a small amount of time to be able to get to know someone like yourself. It really helps pour into to me as an individual, and it really helps me to really see things from a different perspective or hear things that I probably would never have the opportunity of hearing, and then to have you share it with so many others. I think it's important, because the world is really so small, and we're living in
Yes.
a strange time, and it's just really important. I think that we really learn how to reconnect with each other, and to have people of sometimes of celebrity status. It's good to know that what, Brett's just a regular guy, and Brett is he has regular feelings and regular thoughts and regular ideas and things that I do, and I think that's really important, and that's why I love doing this and being able to have these conversations every week. It's really important that people just get to understand strip away a lot of this madness and just get to know each other on a granular level, if you will.
Agree with you 100%. And I think that that has been, say what you want about social media, but that has been the one really great thing about social media is it has allowed the fans to connect with the celebrities on a little more personal level and
Yeah.
interact with them, even if it's just a hi, hello, how are you on Twitter or Facebook.
Yep. Yep.
It's some sort of a connection, and so I think that's been a real benefit.
About your show, give us the name and what's it all about and how did it come about, Brett?
So the show is called La La Land Talk. La La Land Talk is uh, the only, well, at the time, was the only nationally broadcast show by Los Angeles artists about Los Angeles artists.
Wow.
So it was hosted by myself and three different wonderful co-hosts over a 4-year period. We did 200 episodes. And we talked to mainly Los Angeles-based artists, whether that be actors, musicians. We had writers on, we had directors on, we had chefs on, we had a psychic on once. We had
Wow.
a CVS pharmacist would come on every year and give us our flu shot. Anybody that was an artist in Los Angeles, we were open to talking to, and we loved talking to. We had the opportunity to talk to everybody from Spike Lee and Bill Pullman
Wow.
to lesser known artists, and it
Yeah.
was just a really really great, really kind of a special time in my life, and I really enjoyed doing it.
So do you ever think about maybe going back and firing that up again, or was that just like something that moment in time or that space and place that sometimes when the moon, the sun, and the stars all align and just kind of fall in place, was that just that moment in time, or you think that's something that you might revisit in the future?
We're going through something where we're reposting all the episodes right now on social media. I think we're out of 200 episodes. We're up to about 70 episodes at this
Oh
point,
wow,
and
wow.
it's been interesting seeing them again and kind of rewatching them again. I didn't really watch them when they originally came out, just because I don't love watching myself on screen. But
Yeah, yeah, I
but
know.
I'm getting a chance to watch them a little bit as I'm posting them and as I'm having help posting them. And I don't know. I don't know. I guess you never know. I guess you never know. I'm really having
Right.
a great time doing acting right now and concentrating on that right now. So that's been my focus. But you never know what the future holds.
Yeah, you 100%. It is weird, and I will agree with you. Starting this, 200 episodes. First of all, kudos to you because 200 is a lot, and I'm slowly working our way up. We'll be season, going into our fifth season. We'll be hitting around 130 episodes, starting that, and it is a
Nice.
lot. And and the work that kind of goes into it behind the scenes, and you understand that
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
the scheduling and the difficulty. But like you said early on. I hated listening to myself or even watching myself. But then it became a thing where, well, how do you know how to get better unless you're watching yourself and listening to yourself? Because that too it's work. Is this not something you turn the lights on, you turn the microphone on and go? It is just not that easy. So I get what you're saying, but now I find myself I try to do it once a week. I'll pick one or two episodes or recordings and sit there and try to dissect myself. And the reason why I bring this up is that something that you do for yourself. Let's just say working on a piece. It doesn't have to be like the show like this, but even in your acting, like, do you record yourself? When you're preparing to go, in front of a cast or whatever, or an audition? Like, do you record yourself and kind of dissect yourself, or is it something that you just do mentally in your head?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because ever since the pandemic, it seems like most auditions have been self-recorded that
Ah,
I've done. There's a
okay.
lot of self-taping going on, and that's been the. It seems like the audition process has switched over from being an in-person process to now being a videotape. So whether I want to or not, I have to watch myself on video to make sure that I have it right. So and acting, it's a lot of other things now too with that. It's
Mm,
getting the lighting right, as you know, getting the camera angles right, getting the audio adjusted. It's not just the performance anymore.
right.
So yeah, I think you have to do that whether you want to or not,
Mm,
because that's just what the process is now.
mm, man. So where well, I want to say in your current status, like if you can, like, is there anything else that you're working on outside of acting? Like, do you like to write or direct or work on any other type of projects like that to help kind of fill in maybe those times when you're not auditioning for a role or any type of creative thing that you're working on as well, like during your downtime or in your broken spaces?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a huge on writing.
Okay.
I could definitely see myself directing someday, but that's not really something I'm focusing on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is a really great project that I just finished working on, so I do have a little bit of a free time right now. But it's a show called Mrs. American Pie. It's coming up on Apple TV Plus. It's the
Okay.
return of Carol Burnett to television.
What?
So we're working with her on it. I just finished filming a bunch of scenes
Wow.
with her on that. So that's been
Wow.
amazing. And Kristen Wiig is involved. Ricky Martin is a part of it. Mindy
Wow.
Cohn from The Facts of Life. Just got a really great cast involved in that. So
Wow.
honestly, the free time has been filled in with acting work
Hey, that's what. Hey,
and
look,
the
that's
running
that's
stuff.
great. That's
Yeah.
great, man. I mean, I look forward to hear that. We'll make sure we get all that information and we put that in the show notes. We definitely want people to go out and watch and support, any and all of the work that you have coming up. But I want to switch lanes and have a little fun for a second, Brett. Before we're
Mhm.
coming on the backside of closing out the show, and I always, and this is the fan part in me when I have the opportunity to sit down and talk with our celebrity guests, but for you too as
Where's
well.
that? Where's the celebrity? Oh,
Yeah,
me? Okay.
yeah. Yes,
You meant
yes,
me.
sir. You,
Gotcha.
yes. Um,
Okay.
if there was one entertainer, like you mentioned, like Carol Burnett, like, because that's like for those who don't know, like she's huge. And I mean, I loved
Yes.
her coming up. But if there was one outsider, because that may have been one that you wanted to absolutely work with, or probably never saw or thought you would work with. But if there was one entertainer that you could work with, who would it be and why?
I I would love to work with Paul Newman. I
Wow.
think he's just such a talented actor. Speaking about inspirational moments, that was another one. Just seeing Cool Hand Luke when I was young,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and seeing his performance in that. I think I would just learn a tremendous amount. I would have so many questions, and yeah, that would be a great opportunity, I think.
And I think that has to be great too, because you brought up a very good, in that having the opportunity to work with such greats, that have been in the industry. Like, what is that like to be able to pick their brain and take little nuggets and gems from them? Like, how does that really work, and how do you apply those gems and nuggets when you get them? Have you had any, like, just working on the recent set?
Yeah, well, I mean, just working with Carol recently and just being in the room and in her presence, I got to tell you, it was a huge rush. I didn't get a chance to get any acting tips from her or anything like that, but just being in the presence of that kind of greatness, I think we were all just kind of awestruck a bit. I have had the opportunity, though, to get advice from some very talented actors, and I've always tried to take it to heart, because if anybody knows what they're talking about, it's the guys that have been doing it for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily the guys with the loudest voice that are the smartest. I think it's
Yeah.
a lot of the time it's the ones that are a bit soft spoken that have the most knowledge because they've taken the time to observe rather
Yeah.
than just running their mouth all the time. So
Mm,
yeah,
man,
I've been very fortunate to get advice from some great actors.
that was very poignant what you said right there. Sometimes it's not the one who's the loudest. Those who can give you the best information. I really love that. I hope y'all heard that. That was a gem right here from Brett on Two Mics Up. So one
Well,
last question.
because that stuff is just a lot of times it's just a cover. It's a cover
Yeah,
for insecurity. You know what I mean? It's the
very
cover up
well.
that
Yeah.
they you know.
Mm,
But anyway,
mm. No, they please that you hit it on the head. And that's why like sometimes when you hear things, sometimes gotta let people just let that sink in for a second, because that listening is twice as hard than talking. That's why you got two ears and one mouth. It's twice as hard to listen. And sometimes you gotta take that information in and really let it marinate before you open your mouth or before you do anything. So that was really a great gem, Brett. I thank you for that. But I do want to ask
oh,
also, a lot of us don't do this for free, right? And if you could have one or the other, fame or fortune, which would you choose?
could I have neither one? They both sound like a lot of work. um, I guess I mean if I had to choose, if I had to have one, I guess fortune, because then I could go on an island somewhere and not to have to be bothered while I'm trying to eat my cornflakes. But no, fame and fortune, I don't know. It's such a double-edged sword,
It
those
really
type of
is.
things.
It really is.
Not that I've had either one to know, but it I see, you see what it does to some people,
Yes.
and how it
Yes.
changes some people. And I would like to think that I would not be changed by that type of thing. But I guess it's hard to know unless you're in the situation.
Unless you're in that situation. And that's the only reason why I asked. It was just a little fun question, no right or wrong answers, but it is a double-edged sword and one half of one and one half the other. But I agree with you. I probably take the fortune. You can have the fame. And let me go about my
Sure.
business and, like you say, eat my cornflakes on the island or do whatever I'm going to do for myself and my family. Yeah, don't bother me. Um, but it was a great conversation today, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, we've been entertained and we've had the pleasure to sit down and talk with Brett Chapin today. Brett, before we go, I want to make sure that our audience can go out and follow you and on social media. So please take a moment before we close out to please go ahead and share your social media information, where we can go ahead and put it in the notes to make sure that everybody goes out and follows you and all the great work that you're doing out here in the entertainment field.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. My social media, you can find me on Instagram at brett.chapin. You can find me on TikTok at Brett Chapin. You can find me on Twitter. And you can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/Brett Chapin. That has all my links. I'm all over the place on social media. So please come find me and follow me. And thank you for supporting always.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Two Mics Up is now your home as well, Brett. It was been an honor and a pleasure to sit here and talk with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode of Two Mics Up. You can also follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. You can follow us across our social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. And you know how we do as we close out, ladies and gentlemen. May you be safe, stay blessed. Mics out.
007.